just talk about one thing very quickly, and then I'll come back towards the end to talk about a discussion for some measures that we're looking at here within the agency, to talk about the ballot questions that are on for the midterms of 2022. And so if you have not voted yet, please make sure that you go vote. We're now in the early voting period, which is going to end on November 5th. And of course, election day is November 8th. However, if you have looked at your sample ballot, you'll notice that at the very end, after you make your candidate selections, there are two questions that everybody across the state has. And then depending on what county you live in, you may also have some other questions as well. But the two statewide constitutional amendment questions, and I'm going to share my screen right now. And they can be a little confusing because this is how the Legislative Services Council likes to write them. Basically, they're asking people if they would like to amend the state constitution. This is both of the questions at the top here are as they are written on the ballot. I'm just going to go down and just kind of show the clarified language. The state of South Carolina in its with its budgets has essentially two savings accounts or rainy day funds. The first one is called the General Reserve Fund. The second one is called the Capital Reserve Fund. Per the state constitution, what the General Assembly must do is they must place 5% of the state's revenues into the General Reserve Fund, and they must place 5% of the state revenue, 2% of the state revenues in the Capital Reserve Fund. All they're asking voters to do is whether or not they should increase the allocations from 5 to 7% for the General Reserve Fund, and then from 2 to 3% for the Capital Reserve Fund. So if you want the state to save more money, you would select yes. If you want them to leave the savings allocations as it presently is, you would just mark no. So just want to make that, bring this to everyone's attention, because we have had some questions here in the office about understanding the state budget, which can be a confusing process. But this has been disseminated out. If you have not received one, we will definitely send this out to you. Just a really quick one pager to explain what the statewide ballot amendments are. So with that, I am going to stop sharing and turn it back over to Anthony.
Brenton, with that information, does it refresh on the difference between the two funds, what the purposes are?
It does not, but what I can do, I have a longer list of notes, and what I can also supply is information from the Executive Budget Office that talks about the different funds. So what I'll do is I'll put that in a presentable format. I'll give that to Anthony so he can send that out to everybody.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Brenton. And I think also too, I think we can post some of that on our website if possible.
Yes.
You think?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Brenton, for that update. Once again, good morning to everyone. Thank you all for being here. I greatly appreciate it on behalf of Dr. DaCosta and the small minority business owners across the state. Thank you for your time. I just wanted to kind of give a quick overview, kind of at a 20,000 foot view, not 30, so some depth, but not too much, about what's been going on for the last quarter or so and what I've been engaged with smaller minority business owners across the state. I wanted to highlight one here in the city of Columbia that's done great work. It is a veteran-owned business that is located on Decker Boulevard. It is minority-owned, veteran-owned business, and it is called Magic Touch Alteration. Some of you may be familiar with it. I've actually known Mr. Dahlman for about 15 years now. He and my wife served together actually on Fort Jackson right before he retired, and they started working together. And he and his wife, they own that business there, and they do phenomenal work, and they give back to the community right there on Decker Boulevard. And they have actually employed some of the community residents along Percival and Decker Boulevard to actually work in that particular dry cleaner. And so I wanted to really highlight his business. The goal was for him to be on today so that you could actually see him and meet him and tell him thank you, or even possibly use some of his services or recommend his services. But unfortunately, he could not be here today, but I wanted to highlight his business, which is Magic Touch Alterations on Decker Boulevard. Now, for some of the other meat and potatoes of what's been going on with Smaller Minority Business Division. I recently met with Ruth Jordan, who is the Minority Business Program Manager out of the city of Charleston. Some of you may know her. And we met to kind of discuss some of the opportunities that CMA could have with that particular organization, with the city of Charleston, and getting minority business owners contracts and doing business with the city of Charleston, and some of the programs that they have going on with the training sessions. We are actually in the process right now of developing a MOU. We sent it to the city of Charleston. That document is in review right now. We're waiting for them to get back with us after their legal team has a chance to review it. And we will be pursuing that relationship. One of the goals that I had for my division is for as much as possible for business owners to become DBE certified so that they can bid on state contracts and do business with the state, and not just with the state, become 8A certified to do business with the federal government, such as Fort Jackson or Shaw Air Force Base as well. And so we do, I've been recommending, and I told Michelle right before some of you joined the call, that I've referred a lot of business owners to the SBDC and to Greg's office, the Office of Certification, to get that certification, but to begin first with that business plan, Michelle, and helping them get ready to do business with the state and get funding. Recently, actually on last week, I participated in the South Carolina Airport Association's DBE conference that was held right here in Columbia. Some of you may have heard of that or saw it posted on the web or other social media outlets. And basically what it was, CAE, Charleston, and Greenville-Spartanburg Airport came together to host this DBE event right here in Columbia to say, look, this is how, here's what's available, possible opportunities for contractors and minority business owners to do business with us. Here are the projects that we have going on. There were several of our partners that was there at the event, SCDOT, SBA, along with some other agencies were there to meet these business owners. And it was phenomenal. I can tell you that I learned a lot about the Greenville-Spartanburg Airport with the projects that they have upcoming. They have available projects upcoming upwards over $500 million worth of available projects. I had a chance to talk with the VP of Human Resources, and what she said was that she would like for us to come up, for those of you who have time, and visit and take a tour to see some of the opportunities that they have available. I don't know if any of you are interested in that, but I tell you, I was blown away. And you can come off mute. Has anybody ever toured that or been a part of it or aware of some of the projects that they had going on? Because I was not. Any of the other members?
I was aware of,
Oh, go ahead.
no, you
Go ahead, I'm
first,
sorry.
please. Amy?
I was just going to say briefly, Apprenticeship Carolina has met with the Greenville Airport a couple of times to discuss kind of partnership opportunities. And then we've also received an inquiry from the Charleston Airport recently about apprenticeships, but that's about it.
Thank you, Amy. And I know that she did mention internships opportunities. And I did put a plug in for the South Carolina Technical College System, Amy. So
Thank you. Appreciate that.
you're welcome. Greg?
Yeah, they've actually reached out to us doing the construction piece of it. So we provided them with some DVEs and actually advertised, I helped them to advertise for the prime contractors, but we haven't seen the end product yet.
So with that being said, what do you guys think that we can do as an advisory council, or what should we be doing? I mean, what are your recommendations that we can spread the word out so that we can get more minority contractors bidding on these projects, and not just bidding on these projects, winning. And I know we have a contract online. I see how you doing, Ms. Lewis. Thank you for joining as well. What would the recommendations be? What do you guys think?
Well, we can certainly help Anthony with promoting it and the opportunities. I would say if you know, we've been to some of the 3 airports events before. I'm not sure that we were there at this most recent one. I wasn't aware of it, but you know, we could certainly promote it within and to anybody else that you want us to, our own client base who might be interested. But I would love to have some of my folks go up and make the trip and learn more about specifically what they're looking for right now. Because a lot of times that's what we need to know in order to get the right people connected to them.
I agree, Michelle, and forgive me, I apologize. Your office was there. Actually, Alan Brown was actually there. I apologize.
Okay, good.
Yeah, Alan was there. Any feedback from any other members of the council on your ideas or thoughts in reference to that? Or interested in taking a tour or getting that?
I would love to take a tour, but the 3 that you listed aren't necessarily in the PD region. So I think for Les and I, just knowing that these opportunities are there, we can share it. And even though they're not in that market, they could have attended that that session if we had known about it. So even though we're not necessarily in the market for those 3 airports, there's still DBEs in the area or potential DBEs in the area that be willing to travel or at least have the shot at and learning and perhaps even networking.
Yeah.
I agree with you wholeheartedly, Brianna, because what they listed, I mean, everything from, you know, from maintenance to custodial to grounds to, I mean, it was a plethora less of opportunities, contract opportunities available. So I agree with you. So I will, what we could possibly do, I'll make contact with them and send out some dates and send it out to everyone to see. It's basically a 1-day trip that we drive up, you know, so turn around and just come right back and meet. Is that something that, you know, we want to do this quarter? Do we want to schedule it at the beginning of the year? What's your feedback on that?
We would love to participate. I just wanted to say that, Anthony.
Okay.
I think we're all probably pretty booked up for, I know I am, for November, and then December is kind of challenging, I know, for most people. So I think anytime January forward is great, at least from my point of view.
Gotcha.
And Anthony, I would love to have a couple of my folks from up in the Greenville area meet us there if that's possible too, so they could do the tour as well.
I think that would be great. That would be great. Anyone else on that? Any other thoughts? Thank you. So I'll get that scheduled, send out some dates to you all and get it scheduled. Recently, actually on yesterday, we participated in, we were contacted, CMA was contacted by Enterprise Community, a database organization that was hired by the city of Myrtle Beach to get some data on the development in the Myrtle Beach area, actually for downtown Myrtle Beach. And they wanted to know some of the things that are going on there. So what we did yesterday was actually myself and Tim McCrae, Cynthia Haddad, and our director of research, Dr. Fenton, we participated on that call. And basically, they're looking at some distressed communities in that area. They named about 5 of where they're trying to get some data to see what kind of development would be possible for that area, and to also see what kind of technical assistance did we provide or was giving to minority business owners in that area. It was very interesting conversation that we had with it. And I know Les and Brianna, you guys can probably speak more so to this than I can. It's somewhat your region, but not your region. Most of those businesses, when I visited Myrtle Beach and did a conference down there, have closed as far as restaurants. Smaller minority businesses have closed. And that's what I communicated to them on that. So I think the challenge is that how do we promote and reestablish or connect those businesses down there in that area, I think is going to be the challenge because most of the businesses there were people that were doing business, were not technically a business because they didn't have an LLC, they didn't have a business savings or checking account, they didn't have a tax EIN number. We know that from the data. So I'm not sure of how we need to approach that as far as the revitalization is concerned, as far as access to capital is concerned with those businesses down there. I welcome your feedback and comments on that now as well, as far as strategies or recommendations from the team. And that's open.
Are we talking here about, I'm sorry, this is Evelyn Lugo with the Hispanic Chamber.
Hey, good morning, Ms. Lugo. How you doing?
And I'm sorry that I
Hmm.
in like late. I
Yes,
was
ma'am.
actually helping someone from Charleston with the same situation. So I'm in distress because this is something that we hear every day. I don't have a business plan. I don't have an accountant. I don't have this. I don't have the other thing. But I need $35,000. How can I get it? So the answer, how difficult that is to tell them that that's not possible, not now. They need to fix some things first. So if we're talking about, is these businesses in Myrtle Beach and in this area, are these Hispanic businesses? Or is that in Illinois?
It's all of the above. Those who are the way we classify socially and economically disadvantaged. So it's Hispanic, Latino, it's Native American, it's Asian American, it's African American, any of those businesses.
It's across the board.
Yeah, right.
And that's how we here in the chamber with this program, the Community Navigator Pilot Program, that's what we're doing, actually helping people that are in that capacity. I mean, that they are not registered with the state, that they don't have the EIN, that they don't have a business account. That's basic. And the business plan, of course, goes with that. And that's what we're doing day in, day out now with the program. So our strategy really is to trying to get the word out and telling people that the chamber exists, that the program is here, that they can call us and be part of the program, and we will certainly help them do all that. I have done already around 10. Register with the state, getting their EIN, their business accounts, and we have a workshop that is not a workshop itself. It's just that it is a 2-hour workshop, hands-on, doing or preparing a business plan. So you end up with a draft of your business plan. Once you have that, then you go back, you fill in more things, then return them to us. We make suggestions again until it is finished. That's what we're doing. So yeah. And it's about really getting the word out, which is a little bit kind of difficult because we don't have the marketing dollars that we need to be in the papers, in the radio, social media, you name it, to be out there all the time, or to reach out to these people, to these business owners, and let them know that the chamber and other organizations that are here to help you in your business are here to help. I'm sorry that I'm taking too much.
No. Yeah, I think that's good, because I think with our Hispanic business owners in that area, they would need help with translation services and navigating those waters. So I think that you are spot on. I'm sorry. I think that you're spot on that, Evelyn. But yeah, it is definitely needed, because whenever we looked at the data, and Dr. Fenton, he provided it with a population, only about 2.7% of the businesses in the Horry County area, Myrtle Beach area, are actually classified as small minority businesses. So it's very small, to be honest. And so there's a lot of work that needs to be done down there as far as growing and establishes businesses in that area. I know it's a lot of work that needs to be done. Any other comments on that?
Are these businesses receiving, are they going forward and getting business licenses? How do you know that they exist?
Well, see, that's the thing, Brianna. Some do not. There wasn't really a tracking system in Myrtle Beach whenever you apply for a business license, or whenever you're trying to do business, that a potential business owner or entrepreneur can say, or check and say, hey, I'm a small and minority business. I am Asian American, Native American, Hispanic, and Latino, or other. There's not really a tracking system that has been established. So really, it's not there. We don't know.
Okay.
To be honest with you, because there's not currently a tracking system in place.
Hey, Anthony, this is
Yes.
Greg.
Hey,
Just
Greg.
just for clarification, did
Yes,
you
sir.
say 2% of the businesses are classified? Or
Two-
is that the gross receipts of the total number of businesses? 2% go to small businesses.
It was 2.7%. And I have my director of research on the line that when we looked at that, were classified, Greg, as small and minority businesses in the Myrtle Beach area. It's 2.7%.
That's almost unbelievable.
It is.
And the reason why I say that is
Yeah.
because in the state of South Carolina,
Mhm.
I think about 90% of the businesses are classified as small businesses. So that figure may be 2% of the gross monies that are spent with small businesses. But that 2% sounds a lot off.
Well, and we can actually share it, Greg. And like I said, this was for, and I know it sounds like, wow, it's got to be more than that. Now, it doesn't mean that that's all you have that are doing business. You know, we could have people down there that are not licensed, but, you know, they could be, you know, established as far as, you know, I'm selling T-shirts, or I'm selling whatever it may be in the city of Myrtle Beach. But whenever we looked at it, it was around 2.7%. And I don't know if Dr. Fenton, are you there? I know I see his icon, but I don't know if he's actually.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, no, you're good. I know a question arose. I think whenever we did the data that you supplied me, whenever I did a presentation with the South Carolina Black Caucus, I think we looked at DOC. It had about 2.7% were minority businesses, I think, and I don't have that data in front of me. Yeah, but we won't do a deep dive in it because I know DOC is on that data.
So there's first of all, you know, that data comes from the federal government survey of economic, what is it? It's been a while since I looked at that particular project. And I look at so much data, it's hard to keep everything in order, but it's from the federal government Census Bureau's survey of small businesses, or economic survey, if I'm not mistaken. But they don't actually use a definition of small business, and at times it's difficult to really parse out what they mean by small business. They include businesses with up to 500 employees. But basically, when you break down the businesses in Horry County, in that particular instance, there were a bunch of businesses that were, you know, corporately owned, and so it was actually impossible to tell who exactly the owners were by racial identification, racial ethnic identification. But we actually just broke down the businesses where we could tell, whether somebody was identified as African American, Hispanic, Asian, etc., or white. I think it was like 2% of the businesses identified as more or less as African American versus a population in the area which is 14%. So it's very the proportion of the businesses is lower in Horry County than the actual African American population. I know that the only minority group that was overrepresented relative to the population in Horry County, at least for the 2018-2019 data, were Asian Americans. The other minority population, Hispanic, Latino, Native American, were severely underrepresented. But in general, overrepresented groups were white and Asian relative to their overall proportion of the population. Trying to find that specific research project, and if you give me a minute, I'll pull that data up. But yeah,
So-
recently, just looking at the most recent data, and this is not the same exact data source. This is from the American Community Survey, and this is with people that identify as self-employed, which includes incorporated and unincorporated persons. For 2021, in Horry County, the minority population that considered themselves self-employed was estimated 5,527 individuals, versus a non-minority population that was self-employed of 17,386 individuals.
Thank you, Dr. Fenton. I think you cleared it up, at least for me, when you mentioned that 2% of the small businesses are classified as African American.
Yeah.
Okay, because according to the
In Horry
chamber,
County.
yeah, according to Myrtle Beach Chamber, they're showing that 80% of the businesses have 25 or fewer employees.
Mhm.
So, but when we're looking at just the African American, then yeah, I could see how that could be 2%. So thank you for clarifying.
No, you're welcome.
And just one other point, I mean, that's based primarily on self-identifying, right? And so if that's the case, I know for us, a lot of times people they just don't respond to that. So you don't have the data.
Well, on the American Community Service survey, you're basically by law compelled to respond. So you have to provide information. The other survey, which will actually have the 2% of the population of small businesses in Horry County, comes from a survey of small and what is it? I'm trying to remember the data source. It's been a while, and it's a survey that they only publish every 4 or 5 years, but they're based on estimates from tax returns and things like. It's not necessarily a survey based precisely on response rate of individuals, but it's sort of triangulated between a bunch of different sources, including tax returns. They do provide some information on their margins of error, but it's not precise in that particular survey. With this American Community Survey, I do have more specific margins of error at the 95th percentile. So I can tell you, for those minority self-employed at 5,527 people, it's plus or minus 1,065 people. So it could be 1,000 people less, it could be 500 people more. We don't know specifically. But the other survey that I was using was based off of a bunch of different, and I don't know because they don't publish the specific methods that they produce it with on the Census Bureau's website, but they do triangulate data with the tax returns, with I think local registrations like Horry County licensing and whatnot. So I'd have to double check, but that data is pretty reliable. That's what the Census Bureau uses in their, I don't know if any of you have the opportunity, but they do have like a small business data hub where you can kind of explore the opportunities for certain small businesses in certain regions and areas. And they use that survey as their, I guess their underlying data source. But like I said, they only update it every few years, and they haven't updated it since COVID. And part of that research project was actually trying to gauge what the impact of COVID would be on small businesses in Horry County. And like I said, the most recent data source that we do have is the 2021 American Communities Survey. And it does show a significant decline in African-American small business, but a huge increase in Hispanic small businesses in Horry County. So yeah.
Any other questions on that or? Yeah. All right, hearing none said, we'll move on. But yeah, so that is the concern, like I said, in the Myrtle Beach area, and even as I mentioned earlier, in September, whenever I was invited to participate on it as a guest panelist with the South Carolina Black Caucus retreat. They had SCASED representative that participated, Climb Fund, and a couple of other lenders that were on that particular panel. And that was one of the concerns that was addressed with the number of small minority businesses in that area. How do we support them and how do we grow them was one of the issues that was discussed at that particular conference. And so next thing that I wanted to update you on.
Anthony,
I'm sorry. Yes.
before you move on, I think Lucenta had a question.
Yeah, thank you. I was just about to say something. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Yeah, I was just wondering, when you were talking about the funding, were you just referring to the Myrtle Beach area? Or is this like a statewide initiative, or is this just specific to Myrtle Beach?
Well, I was talking about with the funding opportunities, I was talking about with the 3 airports with Charleston, Columbia, and the Greenville, Spartanburg airports, where they had a lot of different projects and funding opportunities that are going to become available for contractors like yourself and other business owners like yourself, Ms. Lewis. With Myrtle Beach specifically, I was speaking to the decrease in minority business owners in that area, and the concern is that there are not a lot of minority business owners in that area in Myrtle Beach. What's the concern?
That makes sense.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and look like Brenton just answered my next question about the certification through the governor's office. Yeah, okay, I see it. I appreciate that, because I know that my certification has expired because there's a date on it. And recently I was contacted about working with a larger company with them, but they asked if I had that updated certification. So I see the link, and I'll make sure I go and update myself.
Yes, ma'am. Please do.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Oh, yes, ma'am, definitely. And we have a point of contact right here on the on our council, Mr. Greg Davis. His office as well actually handles that too. Greg, are you did you see that question?
Oh yeah, I'm familiar with. Hey, Greg. Good morning. I'm very familiar with his program as well.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Currently, actually, we have an agreement, a cooperative agreement with the governor's office. Well, it used to be called the governor's office, but SMBCC. And anyone who's certified with us, there's actually a 1-pager. You sign off on it. And once you're certified with us, we send your information over and they automatically certify. One of the issues that they're having, or one of the challenges that they're having at SMBCC is the fact that currently it's just one person, Johnny, working it. So it may take a little bit longer for that paperwork to get done.
Okay, and I was just wondering too, I mean, they do show a research required, and unfortunately, Greg, I did let my DB lapse because I wasn't using it, but now I'm seeing that companies are asking for it, which is good. That's a good thing, because in the past, you know, I had my DBE for years, nobody ever asked me about it. But now, you know, with things happening and people, this diversity, equity, and inclusion, you know, initiative, companies are now asking me for it. So I guess I need to get recertified. Thank you.
You're welcome. And actually, Ms. Lewis, I apologize. Whenever I responded, I saw your question in the chat and I responded, but I responded to Brent and not to everyone. So I apologize to you, Ms. Lewis. And to your point, yes, ma'am, I encourage you to get recertified with the opportunities coming available through the 3 airports. it totaled, I know, and I don't want to misquote, but I know it's about $1.5 billion of possible available opportunities with the combined projects that they have going on. And like I said, I know alone that the Greenville Spartanburg Airport, they have about $500 million project that they're going to be doing. So it was phenomenal. And as I mentioned earlier, Ms. Lewis, I can put you in contact with, and I can share the contact for the Greenville Spartan Airport if you like that as well too.
I would love that. And it's
Yes,
not just
ma'am.
for me, but
Yes,
also for
ma'am.
the other small women and minority
Absolutely.
contractors. Like, yeah. So
Yes,
thank
ma'am.
you. I appreciate that.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. And actually, we can send it out to the entire council, and council, please spread the word. Please spread the word.
Anthony, very quickly, I've also
Sure.
placed in the chat box, the State Fiscal Accountability Authority.
Yes.
We're Division of Procurement Services. If you're interested in doing business with the state, I placed that information in the chat box as well for everyone.
Thank you, Brenton. And just so
You're
you know, I have a walkthrough on a state project on Friday. So I
welcome.
appreciate you sharing that.
Yes, ma'am. You're welcome. You're welcome. Good luck with that.
Yeah. Thank you all for that. That is good. And I think this is what's needed, what we're doing right now. I mean, just this collaboration and sharing of the information. And as soon as I get off this call, I will be sharing the information for the contact at the Greenville Airport. And I encourage you to share it to any and everyone, because the conference was open to everybody. So share it, put it on your website, whoever, whatever you want to do with, they were in agreement with that. So the more people know, the better. Last but not least, I participated in a collaboration with the SBA and SCORE Low Country. To what we did was we did a little webinar to let the community know in the Colleton, Hampton, Jasper County, just the available resources. Because as you get out into some of these rural counties, a lot of our business owners and the citizens in those counties are not aware of the services that are at no cost to them to grow or start or expand their business. So that webinar was helpful. And in the future, I want to see and kind of come up with a way that we can do that around the state, so that business owners, whether you in York or Lancaster or Allendale, you know, what services are available and how do I, you know, start my business? How do I become a DBE? You know, how do I bid on contracts? How do I do business with the state of South Carolina or, you know, or with CAE or with Fort Jackson is what I want us to look at as a council, kind of as a traveling thing that we can go around. And I know, Michelle, your office has, I think, probably about 21 locations throughout the state. Maybe we could kind of incorporate that, you know, as a location that we could use, or a building or something that we could use whenever we go around the state. Council team, what's your feedback or thoughts on that? What do y'all think about that?
Well, we'd be happy to support through, you know, the folks in our various locations. We do have 20 locations, and they're in both urban and rural areas, and we reach all 46 counties. So we can try to support however you need us. We can talk some more about that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Anthony, this is Lucinda. You know, the work that Michelle Abraham and the, you know, the SBA is doing, the small business development centers, they're such a great resource in the community. I do think partnering with someone who already have that presence there will, you know, be a great resource for what you want, you know, what we're doing. So I agree. I think that's a great idea. And also, I mean, you can also look at some of the community development centers throughout the state as well, because they're very resourceful. They're starting to engage more on the small business aspect, but they're definitely very connected to the communities, that we want to serve around the state.
I agree. I agree. That's anyone else, any other team, any of your thoughts on that? Because I know that's something that we want to really kick off for 2023, is hosting at least one event per month, a small business event of the available resources of something that we can do to help these business owners and entrepreneurs in these areas. You know, there are 46 counties, so I'm not advocating going to 46 counties, but if strategically, if we can just hit one, divide the counties up, and this is the location where everybody can come to for this particular event, just one per month.
Mhm.
We would be glad to participate. Oh, sorry, Michelle.
No, it's okay. I was just gonna say, as far as venues go, cities, counties, and libraries, probably in a lot of areas, depending on, where you hold them, would be, I'm sure, happy to provide some space as well.
In the PD, Francis Marion, and the Continuum, we have sites there, so we'd be more than happy to host. And Les at the chamber, if we don't have a spot available, I know that his room is also fairly large.
Yeah, we'll have space, or either we'll coordinate and get it between myself and Brianna. So we got that covered.
Thank you all. Thank you so
But I have a question, Anthony. When you talk about doing events for small business owners, as y'all do your programming and strategic planning for it, I do suggest looking at what the other entities are doing, like what SBA and SBDC are already doing, so that maybe we're not completely duplicating the efforts, but really streamlining down to what is it that entrepreneurs need right now? Like what would be resourceful? Because you host the event, you want them to show up. So we want to make sure that, we're whatever programming we're putting out there, is specific to the needs that they're having right now.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So who handles that? The programming would that be something the committee will come together on, or will your office just make some suggestions based on the research or a survey, or how exactly will that take place?
I think we can do it both ways, Ms. Lewis, to be honest with you. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. And I know we have a partnership with the SBA and with the SBDC with Michelle's office as well. So you're absolutely right. We don't need to duplicate services. And at the same time, we need to provide what the business owners in that area, what they need, because what a business owner needs in Oconee County may be different than what a business owner needs in Florence County or Dillon, so I think we could do it by a survey and really connecting with the people that are already in that area. I know the business owners probably in that area, they can tell us what they need because they know what they need better than we do. And so I think a survey to them is asking them to look, what do you need? And then just providing that service. But I agree with you wholeheartedly. You're absolutely right, Ms. Lewis.
Okay, thank you. I just want to just make that suggestion. Thank you.
Yes, great suggestion.
One suggestion I would also throw in there, I've heard it a couple of times at recent events, is we may want to throw in you may want to throw in any type of survey what times people would want programs to be. And the main reason for that, and it's unpopular opinion amongst those of us who do this for a living, but a lot of times folks can't make it during the daytime or during business hours. And so they want something after hours. And like I said, that's unpopular amongst us who have to actually do this, but you may want to survey them for times they want a program like this, because at the end of the day, they'll say, oh, I didn't come because blah, blah, blah. So just one of those things.
Yeah. And Anthony, I can't remember if we shared our statewide needs assessment survey that we did last fall. And we had a lot of partners participate in that. And we had almost 1,000 people respond to it, and there were questions on that. So I'd be happy to send that to you so you can see at least what feedback we got at that point on what days and times and how long the sessions would be that people would prefer.
I think that would be great. Thank you. Thank you, Les. Thank you, Michelle.
Yeah, I'd like to see that, Michelle.
Sure, I'll send it to Anthony, and then Anthony, you can send it out to everybody.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
I know, and that is concern, Les, that, you know, we'll host something, but the business owner can't attend, you know. So I think, yeah, we will have to become more flexible in the times that we're offering these events. If we're offering them at 10 o'clock or 11, and the business owner said, well, I'm not available until really after 5 or after 4, that's something that we got to take a look at.
And it becomes a double-edged sword sometimes, because then you change it and then people attendance still isn't what you want it to be. So
Yeah, and as I recall, some of those responses surprised us a little bit in terms of when they preferred and when they didn't. Like, we thought a lot of them would want to do things on the weekends, and that wasn't the case. So, yeah, I'll get that to you today, Anthony, and then you can share it with everybody else.
Yeah. I like to say too, Michelle, you're so right. Like, even with our SC Collaborative, when we meet and talk about programming and event for the entrepreneurs, small business owners, you know, we get a lot of traction. I look forward to seeing that, but mostly in the evening, you know, after hours, because most people still working in their business. They don't have the system set up where they can, you know, step away to come to an event. Unless it's, of course, they think they're going to get a contract or something. So, yeah, I completely agree.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is so true. We hear that a lot. We hear that from the business owners that, yeah, you know, I would attend, but what time is it? So, yeah, so I think moving forward, whenever we do host these events out in the community, that on our end, as the planners and organizers of it, well, we have to be flexible with that time.
I think we need to pay close attention to how many people are willing and what kind of attendance we get doing these in person. Because coming out of COVID and so many business owners being able to sit at their desk and do this for an hour, it's less disruptive for them. You know, so it goes both ways. I mean, there's a lot of value in having people in person, but, you know, we may want to give some consideration to hybrid events, depending on what kind of, you know, response we get and how people are looking at it.
Michelle, that's an excellent point. Quite frankly, we've discovered that when we have outreach events, you know, we recently had an online outreach event. There were about 85 participants. We decided to do one in person. 8 people showed up. Yeah, folks have now
Did you say
gotten
8
accustomed.
people or
8.
80 people?
No, 8.
Oh, 8.
8.
Okay.
6, 7 plus 1 more. Yeah. So our folks are now, they've gotten to the place of our businesses working, as Michelle mentioned, you know, from home on their computers. And Anthony, while I have the floor, if I could throw out one other thing, I think all these suggestions are good. And one other thing I'd like to throw out, matter of fact, there we go. All right, so you don't see it, just a name. One of the things I'd like to throw out is we've discovered, even on this call, you know, we've made mention like DBE and women-owned and minority-owned businesses and the various resources that are available. Has any thought ever been taken to maybe your office or this group coming up with a matrix to show what various groups can provide? I know, like with Michelle's group, I mean, I refer folks to small business development centers almost every week because of all the things that they provide. And then there are those who refer folks to SCDOT, but quite frankly, the way the government, the federal government has this structured, we can only assist those businesses who are certified as disadvantaged businesses through our program. So, so I know, so if those of us who are resource providers are having difficulty understanding who does what, I suspect that the businesses do as well. So if there's a possibility we can put on our agenda to come up with a matrix, with access, who does business plans, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and who's eligible for them under every group, I'd love to be a part of putting that together if you guys want to spearhead it.
So Greg, thank you for bringing that up. We just started, we applied for a USDA grant to establish a rural small business network in our PD region that we serve, which is 9 counties. And part of this is threefold. One, we created a certificate program for small business accounting and tax. And so that's ongoing right now. But the other part of this is to establish a regional network, because what we were finding is that the information bottlenecks, and while it's great to reach the small business owner, we can't reach all of them. And so they get information in different ways. If it's a chamber, the information goes out to chamber members, but not everyone's a chamber member. So we're establishing a network, either community members, municipalities, quasi liaisons that just kind of elect to be in these small communities, and we're identifying them. And we just started this at the beginning of October. We've already identified well over 100, and we haven't even touched some of the counties yet. But the other side to that is a comprehensive resource guide. And Anthony and I actually talked about this last year when I started realizing that the SBA's resource guide is great, but it doesn't include all of the resources. And so there's federal agencies that do things for small business that you don't see in the SBA guide. So we're looking at pulling this all together. Now, some of this will have PD specific things, but our goal is to turn this over to anyone who wants to use it at our completion. And it'll include all of that what you're talking about. And we're planning to have it comprehensive enough where someone in rural Mount Croghan in Marlborough County can look at this. And if they have a small business nearby, they can then spread the word. And we're also planning to send out monthly newsletters to this identified network group to share things like the Sacramento Airport, just to spread and get as much contact as possible. So we pass SBDC and their information on to people, but it's still bogging down because there's just too much need and too many people and too many methods in which to share. And we're all thin in our staffing and our ability and our reach and our budget. So we're going to try to tackle this way. We'll let you know at the end of next year if we've been successful. But so far, we're seeing a lot of promise.
Yeah, I commend you for doing that. I think so many people have tried, and it's just such a challenge to capture everything and then to keep it updated. I think that's one of the reasons why it's difficult. I know that SC Commerce has tried to do some of that, and they've got some things on their website. So there could be some information we could pull from there, but it doesn't have everything either. And it's not all of it is necessarily very detailed. So
actually, I started that about 15 years ago when I was with Commerce, with their small business, and they're still working on it. And it's been 15 years.
Well, this has been a passion project of mine, and I had the chance to write the grant. We were awarded. We were actually our grant application was so great that there was extra funding, and they even gave us more money to do this. So the USDA has been fantastic. So I will be contacting many of you to get the depths and the broadness of what you offer, so that we can better classify and also work in how to keep this updated so that it can go. Even though it's for the PD, because that's who we serve, I would be more than happy to share, and then you can update for your area, since we already will have it set up, and you just add your piece, or wherever, especially for the SBDC, if you want to add your piece and things that you know that are in other areas, you are more than welcome to. So hopefully next time we meet, I will have more progress to present. So we're just in the beginning stages of this. So thank you for the encouragement. Once we got awarded, I realize now it sounds really simplistic, but it absolutely is not.
You'll discover that the easy part was actually getting the funding. In the old days, getting the funding was always hard, but now, they'll give you money, but they expect you to get it done and get it done right and quick.
I think that's great, Brianna, because, when we go to different events, we hand out the SBA resource guide. And even though it's very helpful, I agree there's still other resources in the community. So I can't wait to see it and get some copies. Now, did they fund you printing like 1 million copies?
No, but the plan is that we're going to print many copies and send them to at least everyone that's identified in the network so that they can have a copy on hand, but it will also be posted digitally on our site so that you can go and find it. So we're doing both models.
Okay,
Brianna,
great.
what we've discovered is that the newer generation, they don't want printed copies anymore.
Yes.
Like our newsletter, we sell printed copies, and
That's
can you
true.
send it to us electronically? That way we can forward it.
Yes.
So save your printed copies.
Well, I kind of put that in the grant to print it because I knew some of our small rural communities, they're going to want that book that they can tangibly open up and share it. So we're trying to please both so that we can get as much benefit from this as possible.
That's so true. I'm still old school. I need like my yellow pages, you know. But I appreciate the printing. Thank you so much. But
Well,
Greg's right.
it's the hybrid model, right?
Right, that's right.
Thank you all. That's excellent. So with that, how can who's willing to come together maybe in a subcommittee and let's put something together? And I know the SBA, and we were talking with the SBA and SBDC and others on a call with the committee about trying to put together just a simple format that we could list available resources to hand out. And Brianna, you've already got yours has been planned and funded. Maybe we could use that as a model, as a framework. And Greg, and I know you've done it as well, to develop something maybe in a subcommittee that we could come together and do that. If you're willing, let's get started on it. Greg, Brianna, and whoever else on the call would like to be a part of that and building that out.
I would be happy to be a part of that. And actually, the city of Columbia sent out a kind of a PowerPoint type thing with the hyperlinks, and it was a very simplistic business resource guide. And I found it to be really helpful. I mean, it was glossing over a lot of things, and it didn't include everything, but it was a great starting point.
Yeah, and actually, that was a fun project as well. I'm with the city of Columbia has a minority council, and I chair that, and we actually started that. So, Brianna,
Well, it was
touching-
very nice. It was
Well,
very
thank
nice.
you.
I still have it pinned in my email, and I go back and look at it and see the different things because there were things that I was not even aware of.
So Anthony, with your permission, maybe we can get someone from the city of Columbia OBO, to be a part of this, and maybe even someone from the South Carolina Department of Commerce, to help with that little subgroup. Even Brianna, if they could just bring, the pitfalls and things they've learned, that might help you along your path.
I absolutely agree.
I know Greg, and I know you guys know Aisha Driggers over there at the city at OBO. Michelle, I know you guys know her as well too. And with SC Commerce, we were actually working with Sonia Barkley and Tammy Green in their offices. I think they may be some contacts as well, Greg and Brianna, that we can possibly pull them in on this as well.
Brianna, just let me know when. Frankly, you mentioned Tammy Green. She used to work for me. Or the OBO. They've got 3 of my employees.
I forgot in your former life you were at Commerce.
Yeah. So, folks, I train people, and all of a sudden they get stolen. But that's okay. That's good.
So, Greg, sounds like you and Brianna are going to be integral part of this, and anybody else that wants to be a part as well. And I know Lacenta mentioned that she would love to be a part of it as well. Thank you, Ms. Lacenta, and we'll be reaching out to, I know you said Ms. Aisha and Tammy Green or Sonia Barkley over there at Commerce as well.
Brianna, do you have our email addresses? If
I
not,
do.
okay, perfect. You can just reach out to us in a private email and then we'll work out something.
Okay.
Okay. And I will commit, even if I can't, I'll get someone from our team from SCDOT to work with you on that.
And Michelle, I was thinking too, we can present this to the SC Collaborative. It's just a group of different agencies throughout Columbia and they cover the state. They may be interested in being a part of this because it benefits them to have this resource guide. You know, they're with the Women's Business Center and yeah.
That's a great idea. You know, as long as we can manage it, but I think the more people that are providing input, at least from that standpoint, providing the information that you need, the better in terms of making it comprehensive. And we'll certainly support it as far as providing information you need. And Greg, if you really need more involvement from us, let me know, and I can probably get somebody assigned to help support it if you need it.
All right, thank you. And Brianna, that statement was for you because you're leading this effort.
No.
I will be more than happy to.
I'm a good number 2 person.
Thank you all. That's excellent discussion, excellent feedback. Is there anything else from the committee? I want to give this time to you to provide us with any updates that you have from your different areas.
Hey, Anthony, just one suggestion.
Yes,
You know, those of us who are of a senior age, we kind of forget. Did anybody take note of those action items? I know that, you know, we're supposed to be contacting Brianna. Also at the end of the conference call, you know, you'll be sending out contact information for the fly-ins or for the airports.
correct.
Okay. Is there any other action items? I wanted to make sure I didn't miss any.
I'm going to send Anthony the needs assessment survey that he'll forward to you guys.
Anthony, I could provide some announcement.
Yeah, go ahead, Amy.
Okay, so for those who don't know me, I'm Amy Firestone, Vice President of Apprenticeship Carolina, and we are going to be starting November South Carolina Apprenticeship Month, and there's going to be a lot of different events happening across the state. Our goal is to have 40 events to help bring more awareness to apprenticeship opportunities and our different partners. On our webpage, there's going to be a different highlight every day of the week in November on a different company or a different apprentice in each region of the state. That's where the 16 technical colleges are. So just wanted to let you all know about that. And then some of our bigger events, if you're interested, there's a cyber event that CMA has graciously helping us promote. It'll be at Segra Park on November 9th. And you can find the invite and the link on our social media and on our webpage, apprenticeshipcarolina.com. And that's really geared at small businesses. And we'll have a couple minority-owned businesses giving some background on their experience working on IT apprenticeships and what that opportunity is bringing for them. And then a couple other big events on just to give you a summary on November 15th, which is, I believe, a Monday. In the York Technical College area, there's going to be an apprentice fair with companies offering apprenticeships to the public. And then at Horry Georgetown Tech on November 10th, there'll also be another fair with businesses in that area. And the businesses that are participating, some of them are small minority-owned businesses that are offering apprenticeships. And then obviously open to the public to learn about these opportunities and hopefully apply for them. But there's going to be a lot of different highlights and different things happening. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out, or if you'd like to host an event, we can give you some ideas to do that and how to put it on the Department of Labor webpage, because all of the events we have get national recognition for South Carolina. So anyway, just wanted to share that with you all. And we have a lot of minority businesses that have started to do apprenticeships recently. So excited about that.
That is awesome, Amy. Did you say I can find out more about what you just mentioned on the Department of Labor website?
So on our webpage, which is www, I'll put it in the chat, .apprenticeshipcarolina.com, or you can just email me too, and I could send you some information, and I'll put my email in the chat as well.
Yeah, no, I'm familiar with it, apprenticeship. Which Apprenticeship Carolina. Y'all still partner with Midlands Tech?
Yes, all 16
Okay.
colleges are participating some way, shape, or form. And also, just to put out there that we still have a lot of grant funding available, and this funding can go directly to companies that have apprenticeships. We continue to have up to $3,000 for tuition, books, and supplies for the apprentice, and then up to $1,000 for a stipend for them to pay for gas or bills or childcare, really anything that's a barrier for them to get started. So we've been working, this is new for our state, where we can fund the companies directly and not through college. So that way, if the company, especially small businesses, like you may not be working with a technical college because you have just one apprentice or two apprentices, and colleges really need volume in most cases. So we've been funding directly small businesses, and we have a few minority-owned businesses that are starting to take advantage of that. So just wanted to put that out there as a resource.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for sharing that. I will definitely follow up, and I'll share that with the small businesses in our community.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate that.
I'll mention one thing. A lot of you probably have heard about the SSBCI program. It's the State Small Business Credit Initiative program that comes out of the Department of Treasury. They had this program here in South Carolina a number of years ago, and they're doing it again. This is kind of round two, if you will. And what it's doing is providing funding for two different types of small business support. It's one component that most of us are going to be most interested in is small business loans, and the other part of it is venture capital kinds of assistance. And the funding for this is just they actually were told they were awarded the funding here for South Carolina back in the spring, but the funding is just starting to become available, and the SBDC will be providing technical assistance to clients that are wanting to try to access this. We've also included the Hispanic Chamber as a provider for Hispanic businesses that want to pursue this. It's all focused on very small businesses with less than 10 employees or socially and economically disadvantaged businesses. And the loan component of it is about $50 million. And the idea is that almost like a revolving loan fund, that as people pay back, that it will go back into the pot so that it can be continued. The awardees, the individual businesses that get funding, have to be in CDFI investment areas. And that's something that we'll manage, the lenders and us, when people come to us, because there's a map that you can see online, but it's not real specific. So you almost have to look at it on a individual basis. But just to know that this program is coming, that it will be another source of hopefully more attractive financing for those disadvantaged businesses. And we will be providing that technical assistance to help people understand the program and get qualified and help them put together loan applications for the lenders that are participating. So a lot more information to come, but just wanted to make you aware of that if you weren't already, and watch for additional information. And if people come to you and need some technical assistance, feel free to send them to me. It's all being done under JEDA, the Jobs and Economic Development Authority for South Carolina, under Harry Huntley. And so we're contracted through him to do that work. We haven't actually gotten the technical assistance award yet, but we anticipate that'll probably come late this year, early next year. But in the meantime, as the funding comes out, if people need help, we'll provide that support, from now forward. So,
Wow, that's awesome.
yeah.
Is Diesel working with you all as well on that with Jetta?
No. It's the technical assistance component was not all that large, and we decided to try to keep it as simple as we possibly could. So we did bring in Evelyn's group because we wanted to make sure we were able to reach the Hispanic speaking population. So they're going to be helping us with it. More to come.
Yeah, that I love to hear more about this. Placenta again. I guess I can come off camera now. Let me see how to do that. I wanted to share something with everyone because I'm told you have not because you ask not. I am opening up a entrepreneur and contracting center to help small business owners, but also to help contractors. I work a lot with subcontractors and we just not doing business right. I want to make sure I help them put better systems in place in managing and growing their business and really scaling it and what that looks like. And so I'm trying to get on camera. This is so weird. My phone is being not want to do right. Let me see. Yeah, anyway. So I was going to show you the space that I'm going to be leasing. I've already have a contract under it. Started to share my video. Oh, somebody's trying to share a video. Uh-oh, there we go. Can y'all see me? Hi. So I am in my new space right here on Main Street. And I am converting this space into an entrepreneur and contractor resource center where I plan to partner with all of you, especially Michelle and all of the SBA, SBDC, and Greg, and anyone who has an opportunity to work with small businesses and entrepreneurs. And I wanted to just put it out there because I am on the other part of the building. I've already renovated it and moving my office in there. But I'm looking for folks who are willing to partner with me. And also, instead of me paying to renovate the building all on my own, I'm looking for some collaborators. So if y'all know anyone or any department that have funding that could go toward creating this space for business owners, please let me know, okay? I'm putting it out in the atmosphere.
Congratulations. That is awesome.
You might want to check with Commerce on those innovation grants they do. If you haven't, already, that might be a possibility. Not sure, but worth checking into.
Okay, I sure will. Thank you so much.
Lucinda, is your building located in the city of Columbia proper?
It is. It's actually at 2101 Main Street on the corner of Main and Elmwood.
Yeah, there might be some more of those facade grants that are available through the city, OBO. And then there's also some community development funds that are available.
Okay.
There's some forgivable loans that are really nice. You might want to check.
Yeah.
Well, and that's with the city. And also, if you're in Richmond County, you might want to reach out to them as well because they've got some facade monies available. Well, they had some facade monies available as well.
I sure will. I'm familiar with the city program because I've helped other businesses use the facade money. I've helped them renovate their spaces. So I do know about the city, but I'll look into the county. I appreciate that. Thank y'all for listening to my business and idea.
You're welcome, Ms. Lewis. That is awesome. That is awesome. Anyone else on the council? Any updates from your areas or anything that you'd like to share for the improvement and upliftment of small minority businesses? Anything?
There's a couple of things I want to touch on real quick that we've been involved in here in Florence. We had our Emerging Leaders Summer Institute, which is our summer program, kind of mentoring younger leaders or leaders who are kind of on the cusp of going to upper echelon leadership, and basically giving them the skills that we have for our Leadership Florence program. But that program consists entirely of African Americans this year, as it has sometimes in the past. So we had a successful class this year. We had 7 graduates to go through that program this summer. And the program has been so successful that we're looking to possibly do a fall version, in upcoming years. So stay tuned for that. Had the privilege of individually on behalf of the chamber, had the privilege of being invited to the chamber convention in Indianapolis this year, where I was able to speak on our chamber programs to a national audience. In other words, the programs that we develop an umbrella program called PRISM, which is promoting the inclusion of small and minority businesses. And they asked us to speak and come speak about the programs that we have under that umbrella to a national audience of chamber executives. And while I was out there, I was able to actually get with a group of Black chamber executives and create kind of an affinity group for Black chamber executives that spinned off from that event. So a real productive event. We also had a crew. Every year we have a crew go to BMW Supplier Diversity event. I don't know how many of you have ever been, but if you haven't been, try to make it to one of those. So we had 7 go this time. We usually have between 12 and 15, but we didn't have a bus this time. We had more of a minivan. So we sent 7 individuals, had 7 individuals go out there and be able to meet with thousands of businesses nationwide, DBEs, MBEs, major businesses and corporations, et cetera, just to kind of, get them on track with that. And lastly, last week we did a doing business with program with the city of Florence and Florence County, as well as South Carolina Procurement and Lake City, all came down to present to DBEs, MBEs, et cetera, about opportunities for doing business with their respective organizations from a standpoint of procurement and gaining contracts. So that's pretty much. I don't know if Brianna had anything she wanted to add, but that's what I have from the chamber's behalf.
No, I've already shared my major update, so I don't have anything else that's going to consume the majority of our time other than our current initiatives.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you all.
One more thing.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
wanted to say, Brianna, I know you're working on the directory. Now that Les mentioned that, the BMW, they published this minority directory, MBE directory of people who are interested in attending that event, which it really was good, Les. I totally agree. But I now have this directory every year when they do the event of a whole list of small women and minority business owners throughout the state, who input their information. So that may be a great resource for you, Brianna. And I don't know, I may can reach out to Louise with BMW to see if they have any extra copies. And maybe you can I'll see if they have any extra copies. But it's so resourceful.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, Anthony, if I could provide one little quick announcement. Every 3 years, the federal government, US DOT, requires that all state DOTs do what's called a triannual goal methodology. Basically, what that does is determines what goal we'll have set for the next 3 years with our agency. Currently, our goal is 12%. So basically, 12% of all the federal dollars we receive. At the end of the year, we try to make sure that 12% of it is allocated to small women and minority-owned businesses, basically our DBE funds. This year, beginning next year, probably in February or March, we'll host meetings around the state. Typically, we hold one in the Midlands, one in the Low Country, and one in the Upstate, and it allows businesses to come in, just to let the powers that be and allow us to put on record that businesses are here, they're ready, they're willing, they're able, and they want to work with DOT. Having said that, the prime contractors, they attend as well. And basically their comments are, well, we can't find small businesses to do work. They're not neither ready nor willing nor able to do the work. Well, those comments are taken in so that when we send in our recommendation, they look at the comments from the prime contractors and from the small businesses and just help determine what that goal will be. I'll be sending out an announcement about them, and if you all can kind of pass the word around to to folks to either attend the meetings or at least send their comments in saying that, South Carolina's got small viable businesses that are willing to work, then it helps us keep our goal high. The last time we did it, we were receiving, was probably a little bit about $1 billion a year. And 12% of that was spent with DBE funds. Well, now our budget is $4 billion a year. I mean, frankly, if you drive around the state, there's either a road that's being done, that needs to be done, or scheduled to be done. But with all that money, the prime contractors, they want to keep our goal as low as they can possibly get it. So again, as I send out information to you all, if you all could just share so that folks can comment, especially the small businesses, basically saying, yeah, we want to do work with DOT. That would really be helpful to make sure that we do keep a nice high goal. Incidentally, that goal is not just for us, but we talked earlier about the airports. We also, the events we have determined the transit goal. Basically, the airports, the major airports in South Carolina, that would be Columbia, Charleston, Greenville, and Myrtle Beach. All of them have DBE goals as well. So I think their goal is around 6%. So 6% of their federal dollars at the end of the year has to be spent with DBE funds. So they'll be doing theirs as well, not only for the airports, but also the train stations, the rural transit. So these meetings, although, there's another meeting to attend or something at the right, they're really important. 12% of $4 billion is a lot of money, and we want to try to get as much of it as we can to local DBE funds.
I like to comment on that, Greg. Thank you so much for sharing that. I like to just say, historically, minority companies do not participate in highway, roads, and bridge projects, right? So that creates an issue because that's why we're not meeting our goals, because there's no pipeline or no type of, services that could potentially provide a training or provide an avenue to, increase minority participation when it comes to the DOT work. And maybe that's something, I hear this all the time, and it just struck a nerve when you just said that, the primes always say, oh, I can't find minority contractors. We hear that all the time. And so if that's the issue and that's the problem, then what can we put in place to start addressing that? Like maybe we have to, just like with the city of Columbia, with water and sewer. They got billions of dollars of water and sewer projects, but historically, a lot of minority contractors don't participate in water and sewer. Now we have plumbers that can lay pipe, they lay plumbing, lines. So if they can lay plumbing lines, then maybe they can lay, some sewer lines. But anyway, I'm on a tangent, sorry. But I do think that with those prime contractors always saying, I have been saying it since I've been in business, I mean, maybe there's a way that we can come up with, alleviate that. And maybe it could be creating a program that will create that pipeline of those contractors to be able to participate in this funding that you're referring to in these projects. So that's just my comment, just from hearing what you're saying. But I love what you do, Greg. I love it. But I do want to see I want to see change.
Anthony, with your permission, can I address that real quick?
Brenton, you're on. Brenton, you're muted. Can you unmute?
Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry, Greg. We just want to interject something. We had originally had this scheduled until 11:30. We're hoping that the Zoom does not cut off. So if it does, we'll definitely follow up. One thing that Dr. DaCosta definitely wanted to talk about was an initiative to get businesses to hire more individuals with criminal records, felonies and misdemeanors. We'll probably not get to that today. So what we will do is send out some information as a follow-up. Maybe if you could answer some questions in a poll, and then I don't know if we could do it for the next meeting or call a special, very quick meeting to kind of discuss these issues. I'll also include some information that there were 2 acts that were passed this last legislative session that specifically address that. One is a scholarship and that deals with apprenticeships, and another one is a tax credit for businesses that hire those with with criminal records. But I'm hoping we don't get cut off. But just in case we do, just please know that that's the reason that the Zoom session, we can't extend it while we're kind of on it. So, but Greg, please go ahead.
Well, that's why I have permission. But just quickly, but since you could call me later about it, but in a nutshell, we use federal dollars to build roads and bridges. So although there are people who wash windows and who sell products and services, we have goals on federal projects and that's basically roads and bridges and highways. So although we may have 900 firms who are certified, we have someone's wanting to be certified with a bar and grill. We don't utilize bars and grills. So that's kind of the short of it. In addition, with our state funds, we can do some of the cleaning of the windows and doing landscaping, those kinds of things. So as a result, we can use state dollars with it. Unfortunately, there are no goals for state projects, which is another whole story. But Lucinda, give me a call. You got all my numbers. Call me and I'll talk to you about it.
Thank you all. And if there's any information, can you send it to us and our public information director, Sharice Bell, she's on the call, that we can send out and we can post on our website all this good information that you all are doing in your specific areas. If you'll send it to me and to our public information director, Ms. Sharice Bell, who's on the call, we can get that information out as well to many business owners as possible. She just put her information in the chat because she is the gatekeeper of anything that's posted online for CMA. So any of the information that you have, anything that's going on, if you can send it to us for small minority businesses so that we can get it out. Any other comments before we bring closure? Right. Hearing none, want to thank you all for participating today. This was an excellent meeting. This was a working meeting. This is what I like. Great ideas came out of this. Is what I like. I absolutely love it. Ms. Lucenta, thank you for joining. Dr. Fenton, Brianna, Greg, Les, Michelle, Amy, Chief of Staff, everyone, thank you for joining. This was an excellent meeting. We have some follow-up items that I'm going to be following up with, that I'm going to be sending out. We'll be working on the business matrix. Greg, any of that information that you have about the DBEs, I'm asking about that all the time, that you'll send out. Just thank you all, Les. Just thank you all so much. And I greatly appreciate your time and what you all are doing. Thank you and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Y'all have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.